Welcome to today's class. Today I'll be focusing more on the bodies involved in the regulation of public procurement and disposal of assets in Kenya. So one of the major bodies that are involved in this regulation of public procurement is the National Treasury. And the National Treasury was established under Section 11 of the Public Finance Management Act of 2012. And it's responsible for public procurement and asset disposal policy formulation. So one of the work of National Treasury is to ensure that they formulate various policies that will guide the public procurement professionals when they are performing their duties. So what is the function or the role of National Treasury? So one of the role is that it helps in the formulation, evaluation, and promotion and research on national and county public procurement and asset disposal policy and standard. So it is the body that ensures that they're able to formulate various standards that are going to be used in performing various duties when it comes to public procurement. They also develop policies, guidelines for the efficient procurement, management, and disposal system for national executives. So they also come up with various policies that ensures national executives are able to do their mandate more efficiently and effectively. They also design and prescribe an efficient procurement management system for both the national and county government and ensure transparent procurement and asset disposal as contemplated by Article 227 of the Constitution. They also provide so under this article, basically National Treasury ensures that they prescribe various regulations that are going to be used by public procurement professionals. So the other important thing about National Treasury is that they provide technical assistance on procurement and assist in implementation and operation of public procurement and asset disposal system. So they're able to provide technical assistance in the event the operation they feel that is supposed to be improved. So their work is to provide that assistance. They also manage and administer the scheme of service for procurement and supply chain management services CADA for national government. So they are the people who prescribe some of the various scheme of service for those people or the supply chain management officers. They also carry out general research, development, and promote electronic procurement strategies and policies in both national government and county government, including the ones for state corporations and other government agencies. They also carry out reviews on procurement and supply chain management system to assist procuring entity. And lastly, they develop the review policy on procurement of common user items in public sector, both national and county government. So we have other functions, but basically those are some of the major functions of National Treasury. The other thing that we are going to talk about is the Public Procurement Regulatory Authority. So there is an established authority to be known as the Public Procurement Regulatory Authority, which has a body corporate with perpetual succession and a common seal, and in its corporate name will be capable of suing and be sued, acquire, safeguard, hold, charge, and dispose of movable and immovable property, doing all the performance or such other things or act for the proper discharge of its function under this act, which may be lawfully done by a body corporate. The authority may, for the purposes of ensuring access to its services in accordance with Article 6 of the Constitution, establish such offices in regional locations as it may deem necessary for its operation. So the authority can open various offices in any part of the country, provided that this is deemed necessary for its operation. So what is the function of the authority? One of the functions is to monitor, assess, and review the public procurement and asset disposal system to ensure that they respect the national values and other provisions of the Constitution. They also monitor the public procurement system and report on the overall functioning of it and present it to the Cabinet Secretary. They also enforce any standards developed under this Act. Monitor classified procurement information, including that of specific items of security organs, and make recommendations to the Cabinet Secretary. They also monitor and implement the preference and reservation schemes by procuring entity. So you can see the authority is very important when it's performing its duties. They also provide a technical advice and support upon request. It is their work also to investigate and act on any complaint received on procurement and asset disposal proceedings from procuring entity or tenderers or contractors or the general public. The other thing is that they do research on public procurement and asset disposal system and any other developments arising from the same. They also provide advice to the Cabinet Secretary on setting of standards, including international public procurement and asset disposal standard. And lastly, they develop and manage the state portal on procurement and asset disposal and ensure that they are availed. And last, they also monitor and evaluate preference and reservation provided for under the Act, and provide quarterly public reports. And lastly, they create a central repository or a database. So they are the people who come up with a database on anything to do with public procurement. So the other thing that we are going to talk about today is the Public Procurement Regulatory Board. The management of the authority shall vest in a board to be known as the Public Procurement Regulatory Board, which shall consist a chairperson nominated by the Cabinet Secretary and appointed by the President. So the chairperson basically is appointed by the Cabinet Secretary, and in this case, the Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury. We will also have 4 members who shall be appointed by the Cabinet Secretary after nomination through a fair process by the Law Society of Kenya, the Kenya Institute of Certified Public Accountants of Kenya, the Kenya Institute of Supplies Management, and the Associate of Professional Societies in East African, provided that the appointment nominee is not a member of the professional body under subparagraph above. We shall also have 2 persons nominated by the respective organization representing the youths and the person living with disabilities. We shall also have the Cabinet Secretary or his representative and the Attorney General or his representative. So that is the composition of the board. So what are some of the qualifications for one to become a chairperson of the board? The person shall not be appointed as a chairperson of the board unless that person possesses a university degree in a relevant field from a recognized university. He shall have a knowledge and experience of not less than 10 years in any of the following fields. That one is procurement and supply chain management, finance, law, accounting, and or economics, and must also meet Chapter 6 of the Constitution, which talks about integrity. So if a person wants to be a member of the board, what are some of the qualifications? One of the qualifications is that a person must hold a university degree from a recognized university in Kenya, must have the knowledge of relevant experience of not less than 5 years in a management position, must also meet the requirement of Chapter 6 of the Constitution. So what is the function of the board? The function of the board is to ensure the proper and effective performance of the function of the authority. It must also approve and ratify the policies of the authority. So it must also oversee the management, control, and administration of assets of the authority in a manner and for the purposes to promote objective and purpose of the authority. It must also receive any gift, grants, donations, or endowment made to the authority. It must also determine the provision to be made for capital and recurrent expenditure and for the reserves of the authority. Open bank accounts for the funds of the authority in accordance with Public Finance Management Act of 2012. It is also subjected to the approval by the Cabinet Secretary. Invest any of the authority's fund not immediately required for the purposes of this act as it may be determined, and they also cooperate with other organizations undertaking the functions similar to its own, whether within or outside Kenya, as it may be considered appropriate and furtherance of the functions of the authority. So the other important body is the Public Procurement Administrative and Review Board. There shall be a central independent procurement appeals review board to be known as the Public Procurement Administrative Review Board as an incorporated board. The review board shall ensure reasonable access to its services in all parts of the Republic as for the appropriate to do so. So one of the functions of the review board is to review and hear and determine the tendering and asset disposal disputes. They also perform any other function conferred in the review of the Act and the regulators or any other written law. In performance of its function, the review board shall have powers to develop rules and procedures to be gazetted by the Cabinet Secretary. The authority shall also provide secretarial and administrative services to the review board. So those are some of the issues that you need to understand. And remember, these bodies are mandated with the responsibility of ensuring the public procurement is done to the best and the practices are with the highest level of integrity, and ensure all public entities are able to follow some of the regulations and some of the acts that they must have. Thank you for listening. In case of any questions, always feel free to ask. Thank you.